I'm leaving you for my boss. He's everything you're not. My name is Aldrich Thornfield. I'm 43 years old, and I'd spent 16 years building a career as a portfolio manager at Black Haven Securities in Seattle, Washington. I specialized in complex investment strategies, the kind of methodical work that most people, including my wife Corinne, found mind-numbingly boring. The call came on a Thursday evening in April. Corinne was supposedly at a medical device conference in Las Vegas. I was in my home office analyzing market trends when my phone buzzed with her name. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice carrying that rehearsed tone she used during difficult client presentations. I set down my calculator. "What's going on?" "I'm not coming home. I've met someone." Her words hit like a cold slap. "Who?" "It's Dorian, my regional director. This has been building for months." I said nothing, just listened to the sound of slot machines in the background. "He understands my ambitions, Aldrich. He sees what I'm capable of." She paused, then delivered the killing blow. "I've already transferred our joint investment portfolio. My lawyer said it was the smart move." The joint portfolio we'd built over 14 years of marriage, the one worth $285,000 that she rarely monitored but always enjoyed the benefits from. "I understand," I said quietly. "That's it? You understand?" Her voice cracked slightly, the first genuine emotion in the conversation. "Take care, Corinne." I ended the call and set my phone face down. Then I opened my laptop and logged into our financial accounts. She'd initiated a transfer, all right. Everything from what she believed was our primary investment fund. What appeared on my screen confirmed what I already knew. The transfer was pending approval. My approval. I closed the laptop without taking any action. 3 months earlier, I'd noticed the warning signs. Weekend conferences that didn't appear on her company calendar. Restaurant charges in downtown Seattle on nights she claimed to be working late. A missed call from Dorian at midnight that she frantically tried to explain away. Being a numbers guy has its advantages. You notice patterns, inconsistencies, deviations from the norm. 2 months ago, I'd quietly restructured our accounts. I created a new joint portfolio with a modest balance while moving our real assets into a separate trust. The paperwork sat in my desk drawer, signed by Corinne during one of our routine financial reviews. She'd been too busy scrolling through her phone to read the details. The system was working exactly as designed. The withdrawal she'd initiated required dual authentication for amounts over $25,000, a safeguard I'd specifically implemented. Tomorrow morning, she'd discover what pending approval really meant. Corinne and I met 18 years ago at a financial conference in Portland. She worked for Obsidian Biotech Solutions, an ambitious sales representative with a talent for closing deals. I was the quiet analyst who noticed details others missed. We balanced each other perfectly. She was the social butterfly who could charm clients at dinner parties, while I was the strategic mind who ensured our investments grew steadily year after year. When we married 3 years later, we planned our future with the same precision I used for client portfolios. Children by year 4, but the children never came. After years of trying, the fertility specialist delivered his verdict in clinical terms. Corinne took it harder than I did, throwing herself into her career with renewed intensity. Our home became a staging ground between her business trips and my long hours at the office. We lived parallel lives that occasionally intersected over morning coffee. The first real crack appeared 2 years ago. I'd planned a surprise weekend in Napa for our anniversary. When I told her, she hesitated before explaining she'd already committed to a sales training retreat. "I can't just cancel, Aldrich. This is with the executive team." I went alone and walked the vineyards we'd once explored together. Then came Dorian Blackwood, her new regional director. Suddenly, Corinne was volunteering for every committee, every special project, every initiative that might cross his desk. If you're enjoying watching financial expertise expose betrayal, make sure to subscribe, because what happens next will show you exactly why experience always beats deception. "He really values my input," she'd say. "He thinks I'm being underutilized in my current role." I noticed the changes in her behavior. Phone always face down, stepping outside for calls, password protecting files on her laptop. Classic patterns I'd observed in other failing relationships but never expected in my own. I didn't confront her. Instead, I watched, documented, and quietly prepared. When she left her email open one morning and I saw the hotel reservation confirmation for a room registered under both her name and Dorian's, I didn't say a word. I simply accelerated my contingency plans. The morning after her call, I sat in my home office staring at the transfer request blinking on my screen. $285,000 pending my approval. Instead, I pulled out the folder I'd prepared months earlier. Inside was complete documentation of our financial restructuring. The new trust in my name alone contained $1.2 million. The bulk of our investments, now legally separated from the joint account she thought she'd emptied. The doorbell rang. On my porch stood Beatrice, Corinne's closest friend and colleague at Obsidian Biotech. Her expression was uncomfortable, apologetic. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, leading her to the kitchen where I poured coffee neither of us would drink. "Corinne asked me to pick up some of her things," Beatrice said. "She's not coming back, Aldrich." "I know." Beatrice's eyes avoided mine. "She wanted me to check if her transfer went through." There it was. The real reason for the visit. Not belongings, but money. I opened my laptop and turned it so she could see the screen. "Pending approval," I said quietly. "Dual authentication required for amounts over $25,000. Beatrice winced. "She'll be furious." "That's her choice." After Beatrice left with a suitcase of designer clothes but no financial confirmation, I drove to my office at Blackhaven Securities. By 3 p.m., my phone showed 12 missed calls from Corinne. I ignored them all and drove to my attorney's office. Penelope Winterbourne had been my client for 8 years before becoming my friend. She reviewed the documents I'd brought, bank statements showing Corinne's attempted withdrawal, credit card records revealing doubled expenses in cities that matched Dorian's travel schedule. "This is more than sufficient," Penelope said. "We'll file first thing tomorrow. Financial misconduct, marital abandonment." I nodded, feeling a strange emptiness where anger should have been. This wasn't about revenge. It was about mathematics. Every action produces a consequence. 5 days passed without me answering Corinne's increasingly desperate calls. On the 6th day, I returned home to find her standing in our living room. She'd used her key Boentuntun, the one she hadn't bothered to return. "What did you do?" she demanded. "The money is frozen." I set down my briefcase calmly. "No, Corinne. The money isn't frozen. It's exactly where it's supposed to be." She thrust her phone at me, showing the bank's message. "Transfer denied. Dual authorization required. Fix this," she said. "Now." I walked past her to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. "We need to discuss the divorce." "Divorce? I haven't even—" She stopped herself. "I meant to discuss that after I got settled." "After you took the money," I clarified. Her face hardened. "Half of that money is mine. I earned it too." "Did Dorian tell you that?" She changed tactics, her voice softening. "I was emotional. I didn't mean to end things like this. We should talk about this properly." "Penelope Winterbourne is handling the divorce," I said. "You can have your attorney contact her." Her eyes narrowed. "You already filed?" "Yesterday morning." She paced our living room. "You can't just lock me out of our money, Aldrich. I'll fight this." "That's your right." My calm seemed to infuriate her more than arguments would have. She grabbed a framed photo from our mantel and hurled it against the wall. Glass scattered across the floor. "Dorian was right about you," she hissed. "You're pathetic." No vision, no ambition. I looked at the broken frame. I'll need your key back. This isn't over, she said, throwing the key onto the coffee table. Not even close. The next morning, my assistant placed a letter on my desk from Corinne's attorney. The letter demanded immediate release of jointly held marital assets and threatened legal action. I scanned to the bottom, noting that Dorian Blackwood was copied on the correspondence. So her boss was directly involved now. That afternoon, Penelope filed our amended divorce petition, adding documentation of Corinne's attempt to empty our accounts without consultation. 3 weeks later, I received a text from an unknown number. Coffee? Important information about Sea Pike Place Market, 3 p.m. today. At the appointed time, I sat in the back corner of the coffee shop. 15 minutes later, a woman in a business suit entered. Isadora Crane, Obsidian Biotech's HR director. She sat across from me and placed a USB drive on the table. I can't be seen with you, she said quietly. This conversation never happened. What's on the drive? Emails between Dorian and Corinne going back 18 months. I kept my expression neutral. Why are you doing this? Dorian's done this before, twice that I know of. Pursues married women in his department, convinces them to leave their husbands, promises promotions. Once they've burned their bridges, he discards them. And Obsidian allows this? Isadora's mouth tightened. Dorian's father is on the board of directors, but there's more at stake now. These emails discuss confidential product information that was later shared with competitors. The implications settled coldly. Industrial espionage. Dorian's been selling research data using Corinne to access files she shouldn't have. The FBI is investigating, but quietly. After she left, I plugged the drive into my laptop. The emails confirmed everything: the affair, the plans to leave me, Dorian's promises of promotion and relocation to Denver. But the industrial espionage angle was new. Screenshots showed Corinne accessing research databases after hours, forwarding proprietary information to Dorian's personal email. One exchange caught my attention. Dorian: once you're free from the accountant, we'll move forward with everything. Denver office, director title, the works. Corinne: what about his financial expertise? Could be useful. Dorian: trust me, we don't need him. Just get what you can from the accounts and we'll handle the rest. I drove directly to Penelope's office. She reviewed the emails while I stared out her window at Elliott Bay. This changes everything, she said. The industrial espionage could trigger criminal charges. I don't want her in prison, I said. Then we use this as leverage. She backs off all financial claims, signs the divorce agreement on our terms, and we don't share this with the FBI. That evening, I received a formal settlement offer from Corinne's lawyer. She wanted 50% of all marital assets, the house, and ongoing spousal support. The next day, Penelope sent a counterproposal. Corinne would relinquish all claims to the trust except a one-time settlement of $75,000 and sign a non-disclosure agreement. Attached was a single email from the USB drive, enough to demonstrate what we had. The meeting was set for Penelope's office. When Corinne entered with her attorney, she wouldn't meet my eyes. Penelope placed printed copies of selected emails before them. These are evidence of corporate espionage, she said, which federal prosecutors would find extremely interesting. Corinne's composure cracked. You don't understand. Dorian said it was just competitive intelligence, nothing illegal. Yet you accessed secure databases after hours and forwarded confidential information to his personal email, I said. After conferring privately, they returned. Corinne's attorney looked resigned. My client is prepared to accept your terms with one modification. She wants assurance that you won't forward these emails to Obsidian or any law enforcement agency. Agreed, I said, provided the agreement is signed today. 3 hours later, it was done. Corinne signed away her claims to our assets in exchange for $75,000. And my silence. As she stood to leave, Corinne paused. Was any of it real for you? All of it was real for me, I answered truthfully. That was the difference between us. That evening, I created a new email account and sent key documents showing Dorian's actions to Obsidian's CEO and board members, then permanently deleted the account. 4 days later, the Seattle Business Journal ran a small article. Medical device executive resigns amid internal investigation. Dorian Blackwood had left Obsidian effective immediately. Corinne texted me once, "I know it was you." I didn't respond. Some equations balance themselves. 2 months later, I signed the final divorce papers. Penelope handed me information about Corinne's new employment, entry-level sales at a small medical supply company in Phoenix. Significant pay cut. Dorian is reportedly in Denver but unemployed and under federal investigation, Penelope commented. That afternoon, I received a certified letter from Obsidian offering me a consulting position with their financial compliance department. I accepted the offer the following day. 1 year after Corinne's call from Las Vegas, I stood in my new home in Capitol Hill. The consulting work with Obsidian had evolved into heading their financial ethics division. My phone buzzed with a text from Celeste, a forensic accountant I'd met through the Obsidian legal department. Our fourth date was scheduled for tonight. I hadn't heard from Corinne in months. Through mutual connections, I knew she'd left the medical device industry, taking a teaching position at a community college in Arizona. As I locked the door behind me, I realized the hollow feeling had finally disappeared. The betrayal no longer defined me. It had become part of my history, a painful chapter that eventually led to something better. The trust fund that Corinne had tried to empty now funded scholarships for students pursuing financial ethics certifications, transforming what was meant to harm into something constructive. I had been right about the numbers all along, but more importantly, I'd finally gotten the human equation right as well.